Hey everyone, Tim Anderson here, aka Renfell, and welcome to the latest episode here on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about the fact that I'm not going to be refunding Cyberpunk 2077, despite the fact that it is a horribly buggy game on the PS4, and also why I'm not streaming the game on PS4. And having said those two very negative things, I'm still having a great time. I'm about 50 hours in, and it's an amazing game, and it's definitely something that I'm glad I picked up, and I can't wait for it to reach its full potential, much like The Witcher 3, which launched very poorly and then eventually reached its full potential through patches and downloadable content over the years. Before I jump into the episode, I'd like to say thanks to all the followers and supporters who have been following along over the past few months since I started working on this YouTube channel. I also want to say if this is your first time tuning in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you get updates when I go live with new streams or when new content is available. I do a lot of different things here. Heavy focus recently on Lord of the Rings Online, including the Lotro in Real Life cooking series. I'm also playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm playing obviously Cyberpunk 2077. I'm also doing a short story writing live here on YouTube and read-throughs of Echoes of the Past, Book 1 of Saga Lucemia. And if you want to dive deep into the things I do, you can check out the links below to Patreon, where I'm posting things like the recipes for the Lotro Cooking in Real Life series, short story snippets, game development snippets, and so on and so forth. So subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, pick up a subscription at Patreon, and we will see you either here or there, one way or the other. Both are great. Without further ado, let's dive into today's episode about Cyberpunk 2077, flaws and all. So, prefacing this by saying that I'm having a great time in the game, I think is important. At 50 hours in, I'm roughly halfway through, I am not doing a completionist version through the first time, which is different from the way I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. With Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I'm doing a completionist run. So I've been taking my time. I'm about 60 hours into that game, and I don't even feel like I'm halfway through yet. But that's a different game. With Cyberpunk 2077, I'm mostly, if I had to say, I'd say I'm probably doing 60% of the content, maybe 50 to 60%. I'm doing all of the major side quests and major gigs that I come across. I'm not doing all of them. There are some quests like getting all these different rides and vehicles and things, and I'm not worrying about that. I'm happy with my motorcycle. I got the main vehicle, the Quadra 4, I think it's called, or Quadra V or something like that. I got that yesterday just by playing through one of the side quests, which was very short. But for the most part, I'm not going to the map and like picking every single side quest waypoint and doing those quests, which is what I'm doing in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So it's a little different here. But I will say that in the beginning of the game, I was somewhat disappointed because it felt like the side quests and gigs were very short. And I could complete them in 10 or 15 minutes, and they were one off, that's it, you're done. But as I've gotten deeper into the game, the higher up in level you get, the more involved the side quests become. And now I've been doing quests now where these side quests and gigs are literally turning into these 3 to 4 hour missions, which I might not even complete in a single session, because I typically play 2 to 3 hours. So most of the times I'm coming across these side quests now that are taking me 2 sessions to complete, and I've had a couple that have taken me 3 sessions to complete. So I've been very pleasantly surprised to see that the depth of the side quests and the gigs is there, which is something that I really appreciate from The Witcher 3, in the sense that in The Witcher 3 side quests and side missions, I mean, you could go off and spend, you know, 10 hours doing side quests and suddenly realize that I haven't even advanced the main storyline. And it's definitely the same here, but I will say the caveat to that is that for me anyway, it took a little while to get to that point. The first 10, 15 hours of the game, those quests were very short. I wasn't coming across anything that was really in depth. But then as I got like 15, 20 hours into the game, they start to get longer. And by the time I got to like 40 hours into the game, I was like, holy crap, like these quests are now taking a very long time, and you're getting introduced to characters who actually matter. And then you're starting to come up against characters that you have met earlier in the game. So there's a lot of depth to it. I will also say, as far as the main storyline goes, I'm sort of beginning to see where I think the story's going now at about 50 hours in, and I have to say that I'm incredibly surprised. I did not see the story going this way. At least nothing, nothing that I read over the past few years, and none of the trailers and other previews or anything like that alluded to the overall storyline. It was just kind of what everyone knew, which was, you were a mercenary in this city, and there was these things going on with these big corporations. But the storyline has definitely picked up now, and I think I know where it's going. We'll see if I'm wrong or not, but it's something I'm very pleasantly surprised to see, and it's very involving. Keanu Reeves' character was a surprise to me because I knew that he was going. You knew that Johnny Silverhand was going to be a major character in the game. I don't think I realized how much of a major character he was going to be. And now that I'm, 50 hours into the game, yeah, he's definitely a major character. I will also say that I've been pleasantly surprised. It's definitely one of Keanu's more, kind of campy performances, but it's done very well. It's like it's done in a way that makes it feel good campy. I mean, it's this. I guess I can't give anything away with spoilers, but it's very well done the way that that character plays out and how you kind of the two of you grow together from the beginning. Because in the beginning of the game, it's very much an antagonistic relationship, and over time, it has turned into something that it's still there are boundaries, but at least where I'm at in the story now, even though there are boundaries, the walls have started to fall a little bit, and those two characters are starting to actually realize they have mutual interests, which has brought them together a little bit, which is interesting and fun. And I'm not giving away spoilers by saying any of those things. Some of the other things that I really like about the game, um, combat system is incredibly in depth. I have chosen to go primarily stealth with net running and hacking and tech, so I don't really have a lot in athletics or reflexes. I really like being able to, open lock doors and get around things and hack things and sneak around. But even though I've chosen to go that route, I still find that roughly half the missions that I do, if I get into a scrape, um, I've found that I can survive, with a good assault rifle and some strategic positioning. You could still take out, a swath of 10 to 15 enemies on normal difficulty anyway. But I will say that, I'm kind of squishy, so if I get surrounded by 4 or 5 mobs and I don't have good enough cover, yeah, I'm dead in a few hits. So it can be a little risky. But I like the fact that there are lots of different ways to complete things. So you have lots of options in terms of completing missions and getting around places and exploring the world, which makes it feel very in depth. Um, Now, let's talk about the bad for a minute. So, obviously, as of yesterday, PlayStation pulled the game off the store and are now fully offering refunds for the game. And I know a lot of people on PS4 are wanting refunds. Um, I'm not going to ask for a refund. And I say that knowing that the game is a buggy mess. That's why I quit streaming the game and you can watch the first 2 streams, first 2 or 3 streams that I did on here on YouTube, and I was crashing frequently. I think it was even during the second stream, towards the end of the stream, it just got so bad where I crashed like 3 or 4 times in a 20-minute period, and I just finally said, you know what, I'm done for the day, and just took a break and came back to it the next day. Um, Despite the fact that it's a buggy mess, I'm still having fun and I'm loving the game, which is why I'm not going to be seeking a refund. I'm going to keep playing it. Um, but again, I only play for 2 or 3 hours a day. So if I'm playing for 2 hours and it crashes once or twice, that's not a big deal to me. It's not a deal breaker. Same thing with Anthem. I loved Anthem. A lot of people just shit all over Anthem. I had a lot of fun with Anthem. My brother and I played the hell out of that game when it first came out. Dealt with the blue screens, dealt with the bugs, dealt with the crashes, and still had a lot of fun. And I'm the same way with Cyberpunk 2077. It is a lot of fun, despite the fact that it's really bad on the PS4. Now, it has gotten better with patch 1.04, but I have still come across. I still blue screen every single time I play the game. Every session, I blue screen at least 2 times in 2 to 3 hours. It's usually 2 to 3 times. Like I said, once an hour or so, I'll get a blue screen crash. Um, Textures not loading very frequently. Pretty much anytime I come into a crowded environment, like anytime I go to the Afterlife, as an example, which is the main club that you go to for a lot of the quests. Anytime I go to the Afterlife, when I'm walking up to the main door and that bouncer's standing there, it takes a good 60 to 90 seconds for his face textures to load and the rest of the interior of Afterlife to load every single time without fail. A lot of the markets, anytime you go to a market, you'll get noticeable choppiness where your character is just like chop, chop, chop as you're trying to turn or run through. The frame rate just dives down into the single digits as it's loading. Animation sequences that are completely pixelated with no textures loading. There are lots of issues with that kind of stuff. So performance-wise in the PS4, it's probably the worst game I've ever seen performance-wise. Worst game I've ever played on the PS4 performance-wise. All that being said, I'm still having a lot of fun and I'm still getting enjoyment out of the game, so I feel like it was money well spent. And I also know that The Witcher 3 launched in a very similar fashion, and they worked really hard to make it into what is today considered probably the best open world RPG that has ever been created. I've played The Witcher through all the way through 2 times now, gotten anywhere from 150 to 180 hours of gameplay out of each session, and I've actually considered a third playthrough. It won't happen right now, but might happen later this year, this upcoming year. We'll see. It's a great game. So I have no doubt that CD Projekt Red is going to turn around and make Cyberpunk 2077 into a really great game. Now, obviously, a lot of people have these complaints and comments about how, well, it never should have been released in the first place. And I get it. I get those complaints. Those are valid complaints. You definitely have rights as a consumer to want the products that you're paying for to be good and to not be bug-riddled messes. But I'm also not the type of individual who refunds things. It's been very rare in my life that I ask for a refund for anything, unless it's very obviously broken. As an example, I remember back in the day, I bought a computer. This is early 2000s. Um, Bought a computer, played it, bought it home, had it. About 3 months into it, the graphics card went out. I absolutely called customer support because I had a warranty on it and said, look, graphics card went out. And they argued with me and everything else. And, I had to, eventually I got it back. I got it refunded and I got it fixed, I should say. Not refunded, but I got a new one in place of it. But I think I can count on one hand the amount of times that I have refunded something in my life. For the most part, if something has a little quirk to it, I'm not really going to throw a hissy fit about it. So for me, even though there are lots of bugs in Cyberpunk 2077, even though I'm getting blue screens and everything else, I'm still having fun, and the fun I'm having outweighs the little crap that's going on. So for me, worth it. A couple of other negative things about the game. I feel that some of it is just kind of repetitive. Um, the system, and I don't remember what it's called right now, but let's say you're riding around town, and you get the flashes that there's a crime happening over here, or something like that. Those things, after I did 4 or 5 of them, I was like, I'm not doing any more of these. They're extremely repetitive. They're boring. The only thing you're getting out of them is some experience points, some credits, and some gear that you're either going to sell or break down for crafting components. I feel those are kind of pointless to be in the game. Maybe for some people they add a little bit of extra life, like, oh, there's bad stuff happening. This is a bad city. Look, here's all these things that are happening. But I feel that those are extremely watered down pieces of content that I'm not going to waste my time with. Also, the whole system of like joy toys. I've heard a lot of complaints that's repetitive. I did one encounter and was like, okay, so I got to see some boobs and some simulated sex, and that was it. It didn't feel worthwhile to me at all. It was just gratuitous and kind of boring, and it didn't look that great. Like, it just didn't do that good of a job with animations and stuff. And I will say too, and I know some other people have complained about this. I did the Pan Am romance with my character this first playthrough, and the romance sequence with her at the end was just it was really bad. It was like watching an animation sequence from a really low budget anime from like 20 years ago. It was really poorly done compared to the rest of the game, which I think has really good animation. So it seems like there's kind of this disconnect in some of those things. But I also will say that the writing for some of these characters, like Pan Am's character, she's an amazing character, and they did a really good job with her writing. Johnny Silverhand's dialogue is amazing. V's dialogue is pretty amazing. The main storyline, all the writing is really good. The stories are amazing. The quest lines are amazing. Like I said, all in all, if I had to give it a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 7. Um, you know, if it was bug free, I'd probably give it like a 9. 8 or a 9, but 7 is where I'm going to firmly sit right now with all the bugs and everything else. And if they get all the kinks and everything else worked out, I might put it up there, higher. Now I know like The Witcher 3 for me is a solid 10 out of 10, but not the launch version. The current version of the game, 6 years, 5 years, 6 years later, that version of Witcher 3 is a 10 out of 10 for me. Obviously, they had to work hard to get there, so hopefully they're going to work hard to get there with Cyberpunk 2077 as well. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's why, despite the fact that there's tons of bugs and issues, I'm not going to get a refund for it. I probably won't stream it, honestly, until they get all the crap worked out, and it's looking like they're not going to do the major patches for PS4 until January and February. So for me right now, Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that I'm playing for my personal enjoyment. It's not something that I'm going to be playing to stream. I might put together some content later on for it, but there's enough people out there who are streaming this game and putting Cyberpunk 2077 videos out, so you don't need to see a lot from me. I just wanted to let my channel viewers know my take on things and why I'm not streaming it, despite the fact that I streamed the first few episodes, because I know a couple people were asking me, hey, where's the next episode? It's like, I don't think I'm going to do it. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you like these videos, the type of content that I produce, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and of course, check the links below. Go over to Patreon, pick up a subscription, and support the channel and what I do here and there. And I will see you in the next episode.